Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a really remarkable academic study. It's one that uncovers the hidden struggles and, frankly, the incredible ingenuity of everyday educators. We're going to be looking at the absolute front lines of inclusive classrooms, specifically focusing on non-special education option Islamic education teachers who are tasked with teaching students with special needs. It's a super compelling exploration of what happens when deep, personal dedication meets a pretty massive systemic lack of resources.
Okay, let's dive into this. 15%. That single number represents a massive systemic gap. As we look at the research, a staggering 85% of Islamic education teachers have literally never had formal training in special needs instruction. That means only 15% of these educators have ever attended special education courses. Yet, despite this lack of training, they're increasingly being asked to just step into inclusive classrooms and teach students with incredibly diverse and complex needs.
So we have to ask ourselves, what actually happens when untrained teachers are placed in these special needs classrooms? The stakes here are incredibly high. For the students, it's about their fundamental right to a quality, holistic education. And for the educators, well, it's a daily trial by fire that completely tests their resilience, their mental health, and their creativity.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the inclusive education gap, move to uncovering the classroom reality, examine the challenges on the ground, explore their strategies for survival, and finally, look at empowering our educators.
Section 1. The Inclusive Education Gap. Policy versus Reality.
To really understand this gap, we first have to define who exactly we're talking about and look at the unique educational obligations involved. In the context of Malaysia's education system, students with special needs are referred to as MBK. That stands for Murid Berkeperluan Khas. This encompasses students with a wide range of needs, from physical and intellectual to emotional and sensory disabilities. By definition, MBK requires specialized instructional approaches to learn effectively.
Now, teaching Islamic education to MBK isn't just about adapting standard academic subjects like math or reading. It carries the profound weight of Fard Ain, which are individual religious obligations. Teachers are tasked with adapting fundamental religious duties to diverse abilities. Just imagine, for a second, trying to teach the physical movements of prayer to a student with cerebral palsy, or explaining abstract theological concepts to a student with cognitive challenges, all without any specialized training whatsoever.
And this brilliantly illustrates the holistic approach required here. Islamic education for MBK is built on 4 pillars designed to shape a balanced human being, or insan kamil. It integrates ma'rifah, which is adjusting knowledge to cognitive levels, ibadah, adapting physical worship, akhlaq, teaching morals through modeling, and community service to build essential social skills. It is an incredibly comprehensive educational framework.
But here is where the friction occurs. On one hand, we have these ambitious, high-level policy targets, like the Ministry of Education's inclusive policies and UNESCO 2030 goals aiming for equitable access and holistic integration. But on the ground, the reality paints a starkly different picture. We have untrained teachers relying purely on trial and error, dealing with the severe lack of specialized, adaptive teaching modules. The vision is clearly there, but the bridge to actually get there is missing.
Section 2. Uncovering the Classroom Reality, How the Study Was Conducted.
So, to bridge this gap and capture the lived experiences of these educators, researchers utilize something called Georgi's phenomenological approach. Now, don't let the dense academic terminology intimidate you. It is simply a highly effective, 4-step tool designed to capture the raw essence of human experience. Researchers conducted in-depth interviews with 5 key teachers who had been in the trenches for at least 2 years without specialized training. They then meticulously broke down these transcripts to identify the very core of what it actually feels like to teach in these conditions.
Section 3. Challenges on the Ground, The Hidden Struggles of Everyday Educators.
Through that rigorous process, the researchers uncovered some hard truths. The emotional toll of this unpreparedness is incredibly heavy. The study highlights that a staggering 68% of these teachers experience high stress levels. When you're tasked with a profound responsibility but absolutely lack the necessary tools and training, the psychological burden is immense. To bring this qualitative data to life, listen to this quote from a teacher in the study, respondent GA1. They noted, "Teaching and learning must follow the student's mood. This perfectly captures the sheer unpredictability of the inclusive classroom. Teachers must exhibit extreme, on-the-spot flexibility to manage the diverse behavioral issues and varying emotional states of students with special needs."
And the pressure just compounds from there. Respondent GA2 stated, splitting time between mainstream and MBK classes is extremely challenging. This highlights a grueling workload imbalance. These educators aren't just teaching special needs classes, they are often oscillating between mainstream students and MBK, trying to serve two completely different educational populations simultaneously, all with limited time and resources.
When the researchers categorized these experiences, 4 compounding themes emerged. Beyond the diverse behaviors and workload burdens we just talked about, these teachers are also grappling with a lack of specific skills, like sign language, which inevitably leads to a deep lack of confidence. Put yourself in the shoes of a teacher facing these overlapping pressures every single morning when the school bell rings.
Section 4. Strategies for survival, ingenuity, creativity, and resilience. But here is the amazing part. Despite the heavy odds, these educators didn't give up. Out of sheer necessity, teachers completely adapted their communication methods. As respondent GA1 points out, they began using concrete materials extensively, such as audiovisual tools. When verbal instructions failed, or when there was a sign language barrier, these teachers spontaneously turned to visual aids and digital resources to bridge the learning gap.
Now, what's really interesting is the shift to creative, activity-based learning. Respondent GA3 discovered that singing and gaming methods are highly effective. These educators took it upon themselves to invent engaging routines, turning memorization into songs and lessons into games, just to keep their special needs students focused and engaged.
And you know what? The data proves that this creativity actually works. Just look at the incredible successes documented through the 4R inclusive education model. By adapting to specific needs, the impact was profound. For autistic students, visual schedules for prayer improved focus. Multisensory phonetics led to significant reading improvements for dyslexic students. Singing methods yielded a massive 40% increase in retention for Down syndrome students memorizing the Quran. And textured activity books increased comprehension by 55% for visually impaired students. It proves that with the right creative adaptation, MBK can achieve truly remarkable milestones.
Section 5. Empowering our educators, the path forward for inclusive education.
Relying solely on individual heroism and spontaneous creativity isn't a sustainable system, right? So the crucial point is this. To make inclusion actually work, the system must provide 4 essential lifelines. First, continuous professional training, particularly in sign language and special pedagogy. Second, tangible structural support, meaning administrators must provide specialized teaching aids. Third, a serious look at workload redistribution to prevent the 68% of teachers currently experiencing stress from burning out completely. And finally, fostering a collaborative school culture where mainstream and special education teachers co-teach and truly support one another.
Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought based on the study's framework. The researchers note that providing this education for students with special needs is a collective societal obligation, known as fardu kifaya. It's not just the job of the lone teacher in the classroom. So, as you reflect on the ingenuity and the silent struggles of these educators we've explored today, ask yourself, how can society, institutions, and policymakers step up to truly support the heroes tasked with upholding this profound human responsibility?